Our next guest started a business out of her home, creating hair products for her hairstylist husband, which they sold out of their car. Over the years, they got an office, employees, gained customers around the continent and beyond. She remembered where she came from. She had empathy for others struggling to get a break. And she recognized that financial success comes with responsibility. Please welcome Lotte Davis.
This is Rama. I first met Rama in the Kibera slums in Nairobi, the capital of Kenya. Kibera is the oldest and biggest slum in Africa. It's about the size of Central Park, with over 1 million people living in it, and no government support to provide water, electricity, sanitation, garbage pickup, healthcare, or education. In most of Kibera, there are no toilets. Most sewage runs downhill in open trenches. You smell Kibera before you actually see it. The slum environment is degrading and dehumanizing. It's characterized by abject poverty, domestic and sexual violence, routine defilement of young girls, and transmittable diseases. This was Rama's world when I first met her in 2008. My childhood world was very different. I was born in South Africa in the 50s during the apartheid era. Most of my childhood memories revolve around having to distance myself from Africans, sensing fear and witnessing violence and blatant racial discrimination that I couldn't reconcile even then. Neither could my parents. I came home from school one day and found all our belongings for sale on the front lawn. My parents were interested in being part of an oppressive ruling society, and a few weeks later, they were gone. I was only 9, the same age Rama was when I first met her, but I knew even then that I would be coming back. Growing up in Canada in the 60s, I became familiar with another kind of inequality. Women were undervalued and underutilized. When they could find work, they were underpaid and underpromoted. Trapped in the home and discriminated against in the workplace, most women were unable to realize their potential or make change in their lives simply because they couldn't earn an income. By the time I was 13, my destiny had been defined by the discovery that many people suffered significant injustice and inequality based solely on skin color and gender. These two wrongs became the motivating forces that eventually propelled me back to Africa, to fulfill a need to be more than a bystander in life and a dream to impact gender inequality. By 2008, that dream finally came true. I now had the experience, the time, and the resources to give back. My husband and I had built a successful career in the hair care industry and raised 2 confident daughters who by now were well on their way to fulfilling their own dreams. On my first trip back to Africa, my family came with me. When we got to Kibera and met Rama and these children in this classroom, I knew what I would be doing for the rest of my life. The faces of these children seem so familiar to me. Why is it that when we travel halfway around the world, we expect that people will be different? A 6-year-old in Kenya tells the same silly jokes they do here and then laugh hysterically at their own punchline. They lose their teeth the same way our kids do. They're shy when you get them alone, but gregarious when they're with their peers. These girls were familiar to me because they're exactly like our kids, only they live here. In the photos from that first visit to Kibera, the one face we saw over and over again was Rama's. She seemed to be in almost every frame. 2 years ago, I went back to Kibera again, and there was Rama front and center. Wherever we went, she followed in lockstep. She attached herself to my girls as if proximity to them would transport her out of her world and directly into theirs. The next time I went back, Rama was 12. And although it was clear that she would be stunningly beautiful, it was also clear that there was so much more to her, as if she had a destiny to fulfill. We used these images of her on many promotional campaigns, but I would not see her again until 2014. I went back to Kibera specifically to look for her. I managed to find her father, who told me that she was away at boarding school. He was struggling to pay her fees. He'd had many offers of marriage for Rama already, but unlike most African men, he turned them all down. About a year ago, I was in Nairobi again, and this time I was determined to find her. I had now built 5 schools and had over 100 girls on scholarships, but something kept telling me that Rama was a girl worth investing in. On our last day in Nairobi, I'd pretty much given up hope of finding her when her former headmaster called me to let me know she was at home. We set up a meeting outside the slum, and after a few hours, she arrived with her father. She was 16 now, tall, graceful, and quietly confident. I told her I'd been thinking about her for years and wondering what she'd been doing. She said she'd been frequently sent home from school due to lack of fees, but she was managing to get B's. I asked her if she'd ever thought of going to university, and she told me it had been her lifelong dream. So I told her that we would immediately pay all of her school debt and that she could return to school on Monday and never have to worry about being sent home again. I also said that if she maintained her grades, we would give her a full scholarship to university when she graduated. This is the photo that my husband took of Rama at that very moment when she realized her entire life was about to change. Her father was in tears. Rama was in a state of shock, and I was elated that I was finally going to be able to help her. We exchanged contact information and said our goodbyes and all walked back to the cars that we'd arrived in. And suddenly I heard Rama say, "Wait, I forgot something." She came running back to me, threw her arms around my neck, and whispered, "I forgot to tell you I love you." People often say to me, "This is a wonderful thing you're doing for these girls." But the truth is, they're the ones who inspire and motivate me. I work for them, and I consider myself very well compensated. A few months later, I went back to Kenya again, and I went to visit the school where Rama was boarding. The school was in one of the most poverty-stricken, drought-prone areas of Kenya. The dormitories were massively overcrowded and falling apart. These toilets serviced over 700 girls. There's no washroom, no showers, and no running waters for all these teenage girls to wash themselves. We committed immediately to build new classrooms, renovate the science labs, and build a new dormitory, as well as the first washroom facility with indoor toilets and showers. We also met with these 15 girls that day. They had miraculously finished primary school with outstanding marks, but had so often been sent home for lack of fees. They'd applied to start school here that day, but been rejected because their parents couldn't afford the first-term tuition. These girls are all fiercely determined. They want to see an end to poverty and the suffering that it causes everyone. And I'm fiercely determined to help them. We gave all 15 girls scholarships that day. Not one of them was sent home. And we will continue to support them through to university and beyond to through their graduation, as long as they maintain good grades. It is literally that easy to change lives. With a $500 donation a year, these girls will be unstoppable. They will pull not only themselves, but their families as well out of poverty. They will change cultural norms that favor education for boys over girls. They will postpone early marriage, have fewer children, and become role models for other girls forced into arranged marriages. These girls are trailblazers, and they will slowly start to shift the needle and change gender parity in Africa. Later that day, I led a workshop at the school to empower girls with goal-setting tools. When Rama got up to thank me on behalf of the school, she said this: "My parents are poor, but I am not poor. I may live in the slums, but the slums don't live in me. I am determined, and I have a strong belief that I will be able to achieve my dreams with great success. My job is to give Rama and thousands of girls like her a chance to achieve the same goals we have for our own daughters: the opportunity to earn an income, to contribute to society by exercising our unique talents, and to choose how we want to live our lives and who we want to share it with. My hope is that through sharing my stories, more people will be motivated to help me create this change.
I want to be a nurse.
I want to be an accountant.
I want to be in tourism.
I want to be a lawyer. I want to be an electronic engineer.
I want to be a dentist.
I want to be a news anchor.
I want to be a teacher.
I want to be a teacher.
I want to be a manager.